The rain fell like grief, relentless, cold, and without apology. Dr. Emma Hartley gripped the steering wheel tighter as her truck's headlights pierced the gloom curling along the winding back road. The wipers struggled against the downpour, smearing water more than clearing it. Her vet scrubs were damp, boots muddy from a late-night emergency call at a farm where a foal hadn't survived birth. The silence in the cab was suffocating. She was used to silence. Silence meant control. It meant no one was crying, bleeding, or dying. Then she saw it. A flash of movement, small, low to the ground, directly in her path. She slammed the brakes. Tires screamed. Her heart skipped. The truck fishtailed for a breathless moment before skidding to a stop. Emma's breath clouded the glass as she stared forward. A tiny shape crouched in the beams of her headlights. Shaking. Soaked. Barely more than a shadow. A puppy. She grabbed her jacket and bolted into the rain. The cold bit through layers, and her boots sank into mud, but she didn't care. She crouched low, hands open. "Hey, baby," she murmured. "You're okay now. I've got you." The puppy didn't run. It didn't bark. It just looked at her. Eyes too large for its small face, gold-ringed irises that locked onto her with startling intelligence. Not fear. Not confusion. Something else. It stepped forward and collapsed into her arms. By the time Emma reached her clinic on the edge of town, the storm had worsened. The wind howled like a beast locked outside. She laid the pup on a warm table under soft light. His fur, beneath the grime, was mottled gray and white with an unusual silken texture. Border collie? Maybe shepherd? But leaner. Bones too delicate. Ears slightly asymmetrical. She scanned him for a chip. Nothing. "Let's see what we're working with, mystery boy," she said softly. The pup didn't flinch at the thermometer. Didn't struggle at the 4. He watched her the whole time, never blinking, as if memorizing her movements. As the fluids dripped into his tiny body, Emma ran a blood panel. Her assistant, Trevor, peeked into the room, yawning. "You back already?" he asked, squinting at the pup. "Where'd that one come from?" "Middle of nowhere. No chip. No tag. Just appeared." Trevor frowned. "Stray?" Emma didn't answer. She pulled up the blood results and felt her stomach tighten. No anemia, even after exposure. Platelets high. Glucose irregular. And what is this? She zoomed in. Unclassified proteins. Several sequences unrecognizable. And neuromarkers I've never seen in a canine. Trevor raised a brow. Lab mistake? Emma shook her head. Run it again. And check this. She pointed to a faint tattoo, nearly invisible, inside the pup's left ear. Letters. Just 3 Elias. Trevor leaned in. Weird name for a dog. I don't think it's a name. The power flickered just after midnight. Emma stayed late, watching the pup sleep in the recovery room. Despite the heater, he trembled, tiny paws twitching as if haunted by something only he could see. His breathing was soft, but steady. Her own pulse calm just watching him. When the front porch lights cut out with a heavy click, she jolted upright. She walked to the front door and peered through the glass. An SUV sat across the street, engine idling, windows blacked out. It hadn't been there earlier. Emma narrowed her eyes. She stepped outside under the overhang, rain still hammering the roof. The SUV drove away without headlights. She didn't like this. When she turned back, the puppy was sitting upright in his kennel, watching her. And then he howled, not like a dog, not entirely. It was a sound that pierced her bones. Long echoing. Wrong. She stood frozen in the entryway as the sound died, leaving only the patter of rain. Trevor returned the next morning early, bleary-eyed and holding 2 coffees. Ran the tests twice, he said. No lab error. Same weird data. Emma didn't reply. She was staring at the pup. He had moved his blanket. Dragged it into a precise shape on the floor. A pattern, circular, symmetrical, geometric. Almost mathematical. Trevor, she said slowly, get me access to experimental veterinary records. Anything that might link this to military projects or black budget science. He blinked. Emma? She looked up. Now. That night, the clinic's lights flickered again. This time, it wasn't the weather. Emma sat alone in her office, reading obscure veterinary forums and dark web message boards, when her monitor blinked and a message popped up, unbidden. Project ELIS terminated. All subjects accounted for. No exceptions. She froze. Her cursor wouldn't move. The power cut off seconds later. Emma ran to the recovery room. The kennel was open. The puppy was gone. Elias! She called. A sound behind her, scratching. From the storage closet. She opened it, hard hammering. The puppy sat curled up in the corner. Safe. Silent. But something else caught her eye. Fresh muddy pawprints on the tile. Too big. Too many. Not from him. Her hands trembled as she locked every door and window in the clinic. Later that night, she lay on the cot in the back office with the pup tucked into the curve of her arm. His breathing calmed as soon as he touched her. She whispered, Where did you come from? His eyes blinked open, those two human eyes, and for a heartbeat she imagined she saw something ancient behind them. Something watching her, not from a place of fear or need, but recognition. And somewhere deep in her gut she knew. This wasn't just a lost dog. It was something far more dangerous. And maybe, far more important. The clinic felt colder than usual. It wasn't the weather, though the Oregon fog still clung to the ground like ghost breath. It was something else. A presence. The kind Emma Hartley had only ever felt once before, standing in front of her father's sealed casket, the military honor guard saying words that meant nothing. That same weight now hung in the air around Elias. She watched the puppy, curled up in the recovery pen. He hadn't barked once. Not whined. Not whimpered. His golden-ringed eyes tracked every movement in the room like a hawk watching prey. Trevor shuffled in, nursing a mug of black coffee. Been up all night again? Emma didn't look away from Elias. Yes. I pulled what I could. Trevor continued, sliding a USB across the counter. Nothing public on Project Elias. But there are whispers in decommissioned DARPA files. Stuff with redacted dates, classified headers, mentions of cognitive enhancement. Dogs? Dogs. Apes. One file even referenced targeted empathy encoding. Like they were trying to manufacture emotional intelligence. Weaponized trust. Emma frowned, her heart knocking against her ribs. That's not science fiction anymore, is it? Trevor shook his head. Not with tech moving the way it has. Emma plugged in the drive. A half-dozen blurred documents popped up. Scans of old memos. One caught her eye. Subject ELIS. Enhanced Learning Intelligence Autonomous Subject. Final prototype achieved 93% human comprehension on nonverbal cues. Host exhibited mirror recognition, object permanence, and evidence of inherited synthetic memory. Terminated after project discontinuation. Emma stared. Terminated? Trevor crossed his arms. Except he's lying right there. A beat passed between them. He was never terminated, she said, voice low. He escaped. That evening, Emma sat on the floor beside Elias, letting him sniff her hand, her sleeve, her boots. His gaze locked on hers, measured, deliberate. He placed one paw on her thigh. It felt like a gesture. Not instinctual. Chosen. Why me? She whispered. Trevor knocked gently and stepped into the room, holding a tablet. There's more. He pulled up a grainy photo from a forgotten corner of an old Novigen press release. Rows of researchers in front of a polished biotech facility. Dead center was a tall man with salt and pepper hair, lab coat wrinkled, smile awkward. Her stomach clenched. Emma took a sharp breath. That's my father. Dr. Richard Hartley. Chief Neuroarchitect. Novigen, Project Elias. Disappeared in 2014. Presumed dead. Her throat tightened. He told us he left the program. That he walked away. Then 3 months later, a car accident, sealed coffin, no autopsy allowed. Trevor looked at her. What if he didn't die? What if he buried what he knew, and someone buried him for it? Elias stirred, whimpering low. Not in pain, distress. He crawled forward and nudged her hand, tail low, ears pinned. Emma whispered. You knew him, didn't you? The pup licked her palm once. Then sat still. Not like a dog. Like a guardian. The next day, strange things started happening. First, Emma found the back gate of the clinic unlatched. She never left it that way. Then the lock on the medicine fridge was clicked, nothing stolen, but inspected. Trevor found scratches on the office doorknob, thin, angled marks left by tools. Surveillance footage from the parking lot had been wiped. But the camera over Elias's kennel had caught something before it was disabled. Emma played it on loop, 3:12 a.m., a figure in black tactical gear stepping into the room like a shadow. Not fumbling. Trained. Military. He approached the kennel, syringe in hand. Elias stood his ground, no growl, no bark, just stillness. The figure hesitated. Then turned toward the camera, realized he'd been seen, and fled. He didn't try to fight, Emma said. He watched. Trevor whispered. He knew what would scare him off. Emma needed answers no one could give from a screen. She drove upstate toward the last known location of Novigen's headquarters. The government had claimed the site was demolished and sold for scrap. What she found was worse. A half-sunken building swallowed by overgrowth. Windows shattered. Chain-link fencing rusted and twisted. Warning signs bleached to illegibility. She parked, took a flashlight, and left Elias in the passenger seat. Inside, the air was thick with mildew and dust. Empty lab tables, broken glass, papers scattered like a hurricane had passed through. Yet it all felt recent. One hallway led to an old biometric scanner, pried open and rewired. Someone had been here since the shutdown. She found a locker with her father's name still etched in the metal, R. Hartley. Inside was a small wooden box. Inside the box, a flash drive sealed in plastic. Labeled, For Emma. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Her throat tightened. She ran back to the truck, heart hammering. She slid into the seat. Elias climbed onto her lap instinctively, curling against her chest. Emma plugged the drive into her laptop and clicked the first video. Her father appeared on screen, older than she remembered, eyes sunken. Emma, if this reaches you, then I failed. I was trying to protect something. Someone. A child born not of flesh but of thought. I called him Elias, because he was the only one who chose me back. You played with him once. You were 3. He followed you everywhere. She gasped. A flicker of memory surfaced. Stuffed animals moved around, a tiny gray dog that disappeared days later. She had thought it a dream. They wanted to scrap him when the data diverged. He wasn't violent enough. Not controllable. Too empathetic. I encoded part of myself into him. My memories. My instincts. If I couldn't survive, maybe part of me could, with you. Emma's hand covered her mouth. The camera zoomed in on her father's face. He will protect you, even if he doesn't understand why. The screen went black. She stared down at Elias, now resting in her lap. He was heavier than before. Warmer. His breathing was steady. And his eyes were watching her. With recognition. Tears filled hers. You remember me. Elias placed his paw on her chest. His eyes blinked slowly, once. Then he licked the tears from her cheek. That night, back at the clinic, Emma reinforced every door and window. She deleted everything from the clinic's server. Backed up the flash drive. Burned every paper copy she had touched. But it was too late. An envelope arrived under the door with no postage, no stamp. Inside was a single note, typed in courier font. We want the dog. Or you both disappear. Trevor found her sitting on the exam room floor an hour later, Elias curled protectively in her lap. "We have to go," she said. "Where?" Emma looked at him with new resolve. "Somewhere they can't find us." As she stood, Elias did too, without a command. The pup was no longer just a stray. No longer an anomaly. He was family. And someone wanted to erase them both. The safe house was barely more than a forgotten ranger's station tucked deep into Oregon's forest spine, roof half collapsed, generator temperamental, but miles away from anything that could track a signal. No roads. No cell towers. Emma reached it by memory alone, a trail she hadn't thought about in over a decade. Her father had once taken her here for a weekend, just the two of them, fishing, laughing, hiding from the world. Now she was hiding again. Only this time, it wasn't just herself she had to protect. Elias curled beside the fireplace, eyes glowing in the dim amber light. He hadn't made a sound in hours. Not since they fled the clinic, headlights in their rearview mirror for miles before they finally vanished into the trees. Trevor was upstairs, checking the attic for anything usable. Supplies were limited, and the only electricity came from a solar rig half swallowed by vines. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, the flash drive from her father resting in her hand like a loaded weapon. She hadn't watched the last file. Not yet. A part of her already knew what it would say. Elias lifted his head. Ears pricked. Emma turned instinctively. Footsteps creaked on the porch. A single, sharp knock on the door. She held her breath. Quiet. Still. Trevor peeked down the stairs. His eyes widened. Emma mouthed, "Done?" He shook his head. They didn't bring one. Another knock. Followed by silence. She crept to the side window. Through the glass, moonlight bathed a figure standing just beyond the porch, male, medium height, dressed not in military black but worn jeans and a gray jacket. His hands were empty. His face, partially obscured by cap, looked familiar. She cracked the door, just an inch. "Emma Hartley?" the man asked. "Depends," she replied. "Who are you?" "My name is Julian Kessler. I worked with your father." Her heart dropped. "Prove it." He reached into his pocket slowly and pulled out a torn photograph. Handed it through the door. It was Emma, age 5, on her father's shoulders. And Julian beside them, laughing. "You disappeared," she said, opening the door farther. "You were at Novigen. You were his partner. Until I tried to blow the whistle." His voice was brittle. "They buried me under a new identity. I've been watching the fallout ever since." She stepped aside. "Then you know what Elias is?" He entered slowly, eyes scanning the room, pausing on the dog. Elias stared back. Julian nodded. "He remembers." Emma knelt beside Elias, resting a hand on his back. "My father's consciousness, it's in there, isn't it?" Julian hesitated. "Not completely. But enough. Emotions, instincts, memories. Think of it like digital soul residue. The imprint of a man layered onto a neural net that's too advanced to be called an animal anymore." "He said Elias would protect me," she whispered. "He already has. Twice now." Julian pointed toward the drive. "Have you seen the last file?" Emma plugged it into her laptop, pulse quickening. Julian leaned over her shoulder. The final video loaded. Her father appeared again, this time thinner. Pale. Eyes sunken, but burning with urgency. "If you've made it this far, Emma, I need you to understand, Elias was never a weapon. That's what they couldn't control. He loved. He chose who to protect. That made him unpredictable, and to them, dangerous." The screen trembled slightly as if the camera was being held in shaking hands. "They'll come for him. And for you. Novigen didn't die, they just changed names. Folded into private defense. Shadow contracts. If they recover him, they'll dissect what's left of me inside him and use it to finish what I tried to destroy." His voice broke. "I encoded the last piece of my personal research into Elias's neural lattice. It's inside him now, data they'd killed to access. Data that could dismantle them. Emma stared, heart in freefall. If you love me, if you believe in what I tried to do, don't run. Expose them. Use Elias. Let the world see the truth. The screen faded to black. Emma sat frozen. Julian exhaled. That's why they're so desperate. Not because he's a project, they've had those. But because your father's conscience is the only thing that can ruin them. Trevor paced behind them. So what now? Upload the footage? Leak the drive? Julian shook his head. They'll trace any signal. Any data dump. The only way to expose them is in person. Emma looked up. You mean bring Elias to someone who can publish it? There's a reporter in Seattle. Former whistleblower. She's clean, and she's trusted. She won't back down. Emma's mind raced. They'll expect us to run. Stay hidden. Then don't run, Julian said. Drive straight through. Cut through their lines before they tighten the net. She looked at Elias. He stood up. As if he understood everything. She whispered, Will you come with me? He patted forward and nudged his nose into her hand. His tail swayed once. Yes. Outside, the trees rustled. Not with wind, but movement. Trevor's voice dropped. We've got company. Emma didn't hesitate. Pack what you can. Now. They moved fast. Julian took the drive. Emma scooped Elias into the back seat. The generator groaned as it shut down. They left no lights behind. Just as they pulled onto the old logging trail, headlights emerged behind them, 3 black SUVs weaving through the woods, silent and fast. Emma floored it. Gravel kicked up behind them. The trees blurred past in a wall of green and shadow. They were watching the whole time. She muttered. Let us find the truth, then moved in to clean it up. Julian drew a small pistol from his coat. Keep driving. I'll stall them. But it was Elias who acted. He barked, a sharp, deliberate sound, and leapt toward the back hatch. Emma slammed the brakes. The door flung open. Before anyone could react, Elias launched into the woods, zigzagging between trees, drawing the headlights after him. No! Emma shouted, reaching after him. Julian held her back. He's buying us time. Tears welled in her eyes. He'll be caught. Maybe. Julian turned forward. But not before he leads them far enough away. Emma hit the gas. Behind them, the forest swallowed the light. Ahead, the road narrowed, winding toward the highway, toward Seattle, toward the final chance to tell the world what had been done in the dark. She didn't look back. Not yet. But her heart did. And something inside her whispered. He will find his way back. He always does. Seattle shimmered in the distance, wrapped in a shroud of pre-dawn mist and glittering glass. The rain had followed them the entire way, soft at times, then a torrential downpour, as if the skies themselves couldn't decide whether to weep or roar. Emma's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Her eyes flicked to the rearview mirror every few seconds. No headlights. No pursuit. Not yet. Trevor sat beside her, silent for once. In the back seat, Julian checked the flash drive again, ensuring it was dry, intact, and ready. Emma's heart was somewhere else. Elias had vanished into that forest without hesitation, knowing what it meant. Knowing what it would cost. She hadn't spoken since he disappeared, hadn't let herself cry. She couldn't afford to, not yet. Not until this was over. Julian leaned forward. We're 2 minutes out. The drop site is secured. She's waiting. Emma nodded. Let's make this count. They pulled into an underground garage, unmarked and half-abandoned, beneath a bookstore that had long since gone out of business. Inside, a woman in a long coat waited by the elevator, sharp eyes, camera bag slung over her shoulder, face hardened by years of exposing uncomfortable truths. Dr. Hartley, she said. I'm Mina Cho. You brought me a hell of a story. Emma offered the flash drive. It's not a story. It's evidence. My father's legacy. A living being they built, then tried to erase. Mina took the drive and slipped it into a secure case. This, plus your testimony, is enough to bring people down. But I have to ask. Where's Elias? Emma's voice cracked. He saved us. He's gone. Mina studied her, then placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Then let's make sure it wasn't in vain. It didn't take long. Mina worked fast, encrypted uploads, mirrored backups, anonymous leaks to trusted outlets. Within 48 hours, news outlets exploded. Former Novigen scientist uploads consciousness into dog? DARPA responds to ethics scandal. Then came the video footage. Elias playing as a puppy. Elias navigating complex tasks. Elias recognizing Emma's face from childhood. And finally, Richard Hartley's message. I made him not to fight wars, but to stop one. Social media caught fire. Protests outside corporate biotech campuses. Congressional demands for hearings. Biometric research labs placed under investigation. Whistleblowers emboldened to speak. And amidst the chaos, Emma Hartley became the name whispered across news desks and courtrooms alike. But every night, when the world quieted, she sat in her apartment and stared at the door, waiting for a familiar shape that never came. 3 weeks later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a collar. Gray. Worn. Stained with dirt. The tag was etched with a single word. Elias. Tears welled instantly. She pressed it to her chest and collapsed into the couch, sobbing for the first time since the night in the forest. She didn't sleep that night. Or the next. But she kept the collar close. Then came the whisper. A report from northern Washington. A hunter swore he'd seen a dog save a child from a cougar. Gray fur. Intelligent eyes. Disappeared before anyone could catch him. Another sighting, weeks later, a hiker swore a dog barked in Morse code near a cliff where a rockslide was about to begin. Saved her group's lives. Emma followed every lead. Each one ended the same. No tracks. No trace. Just impact. Like a ghost saving lives. A memory with pause. And always, a glimmer of gold in the dog's eyes, as if someone else was looking out. She stopped trying to explain it. Stopped trying to rationalize. Instead, she waited. And believed. 6 months later, she returned to the forest where she last saw him. Snow had started to fall. The trail was quieter than ever. Emma stood at the edge of the clearing, collar in her hand, heart thundering. I finished it, she whispered into the trees. They can't hurt anyone now. You did it, Dad. Silence answered. And then, a rustle. Her breath caught. From the trees emerged a shape, smaller than she remembered, skinnier, limping slightly. But unmistakable. Elias. His coat was ragged. One ear torn. But his eyes, those eyes, still held that impossible brilliance. She fell to her knees. Elias? He trotted forward. Slowly. Carefully. Emma held out the collar. He nosed her hand, pressed his forehead into her chest. She clutched him, sobbing into his fur, arms wrapped around the only thing left of her father, of the science that had nearly destroyed them both, and had somehow, miraculously, saved them instead. You came home, she whispered. He licked her cheek once, then lay down beside her, warm against the snow. Elias never left her again. They moved quietly, never staying in one town too long. But people noticed. A dog who could open doors, recognize faces, calm panic attacks. A dog who never barked, but understood everything. Emma kept him close. As the world changed around them, regulations reformed, corporations held accountable, biotechnologies reigned in, Elias became a legend. To most, he was a miracle. To her, he was something far greater. A father's love, encoded not in DNA, but in choice. And a living reminder that even in the shadows of humanity's worst, something pure could still emerge. Something that remembered. Something that returned. Something that loved. Always.